like a moving montage. Welcome or welcome back. I'm Kelsey, and this video is just gonna be all about my recent move to New York City. So got the keys, we're in the new apartment. It is a gorgeous apartment, 11, almost 12-foot ceilings, gorgeous windows. We're really high up, so we get a lot of light. There's like basically no buildings obstructing our view. It's southern exposure. I mean, it's gorgeous. The apartment's gorgeous. I am so excited to be here. So we hired Lofty. Lofty is like an apartment broker, but not an apartment broker. They're totally free, and they help pair you to apartments in New York City. And honestly, we would not have been able to find this apartment, much less any apartment that remotely fit our needs within our budget for the time frame that we wanted without Lofty. And our Lofty agent, Andrea, was super kind, really accessible, and just made the whole process really easy for us. She booked all of these different showings on all of these different buildings, really helped us see like what value we could get for our money, what like layouts were like, what the lighting situation is like, comparatively different amenity buildings, and we would not have been able to do this without her. So Andrea, if you're watching this, just know that we so appreciate you. Thank you so much for helping us find this beautiful apartment. And if you guys ever move to New York City and you need to find a place to live, I really recommend you try out Lofty. And the crazy part is that it's totally free. They get all of their money on the building and seller side of things, so you don't have to worry about paying that huge chunky broker's fee. Back to the apartment hunt. The very first unit that we saw was $3,300-ish a month, which sounds like a lot of money, and it of course is a lot of money, but we were touring only in the FiDi area. So the financial district is one of the most expensive parts of New York City. It is lower Manhattan, and my boyfriend works in finance, so finding a place that was a walkable commute to work for him was really important to us. So that's why a lot of the apartments that you're gonna see that I'm gonna show you today are going to be at a pretty high price range. So the first unit that we saw was a fairly large studio. It had, I think, 3 or 4 windows, a really nice kitchen, incredibly large walk-in closets, but the enormous drawback was there was absolutely no natural light, like none whatsoever. And that could have been a solvable problem with enough artificial lights, but if you're trying to grow plants and if you're trying to just like avoid seasonal affective depression, aka sad, during the winter, then it can be a really big drawback to not have any natural light. So that would have made it pretty tricky for me, but the price was pretty much unbeatable. $3,300 a month is kind of a steal for this area. Next, we toured a bunch of other apartments, and basically what we found was that if a apartment was like really well lit in terms of natural lighting, if it had a lot of windows, it was probably going to be on the smaller side, or it was going to be really expensive. This one apartment that we toured had this absolutely stellar view, but it was like a shoebox apartment. You could have maybe fit a queen bed and a desk in the apartment. That probably would have been a little bit of a stretch, but definitely not like a whole living room setup, or a whole like desk artist easel kind of setup for me. So that probably just wouldn't have worked for us, and it would have felt really cramped as well. An apartment that came really close, that was probably number 2 on our list, was this apartment right here. This was another fairly large studio. It had a whole like sort of bed nook area when you first walked in. No natural light here, that's why the footage is so crusty and yellow, but also had really great closets, a fairly large kitchen, and the living room was definitely the piece de resistance of this apartment. It had great windows, but the living room was enormous. It branched into the kitchen. Basically, it was a whole sort of open concept kind of apartment. It had a gorgeous island, really nice appliances, and they were able to fit like this enormous couch and living room setup, along with like a 6 to 8 person dining table, which is a rarity in New York by far. And just seeing the way they laid out the space was really impressive for us. And that one was really tempting, but when we saw this apartment later on, we knew that like this was probably gonna be the one for us. lighting in this apartment just hits you when you first walk in. It's, I think, really the highlight of the space. The view, which I am not going to show very much of for privacy reasons, but the view and the lighting and the full sun this apartment gets during the day is just, I think, really the dominant player in this space. The tall ceilings really lend itself to this really light and airy vibe that's complemented by the bright white colors of the walls and the light, sort of like very light medium tone wood of the parquet floors really make the space feel super airy. And the kitchen was pretty on par with the other apartments that we saw in terms of space, to be a little bit on the smaller side, but the fact that it wasn't enclosed, the fact that it was a sort of an open concept was really appealing, along with the gorgeous lighting that you guys are seeing in literally every single one of these clips. And in the bedroom you have the same great view, the same really big windows, and lots of closet space. Not the huge walk-in closets that you saw in that studio earlier, but still a decent amount of closet space. The right-hand side is all shelves, which I think we're planning on filling up with some baskets and stuff from IKEA, so stay tuned to the next moving vlog to see all of the unpacking and stuff. And the closets that you see in the entryway are also really well optimized. I was just really impressed with the storage capacity of the space, given like that it's not actually very big. The living room is, I think, one of the largest that we saw, save for that second backup option. I thoroughly recommend Lofty if you are looking for an apartment in New York City. I absolutely love this apartment. My boyfriend also loves this apartment. We are really happy here. And if you're interested in learning more about how I'm going to design this space, how everything is going to be laid out, the color palette, sort of the design that I'm envisioning, you should definitely subscribe, like this video, and then click this playlist right here, because that is going to have all of the New York City moving vlogs. If you're interested, definitely stay tuned for that, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.